So day 4 of ministry. So this was our last day with this church in this community. We just basically PR decided that we would spend 4 days here, and then we would take a day off and do other ministry, and then another 4 days at another community. So on this last day, we prepared a lot of food. We were able to fundraise extra money, and we were able to put that towards um, basically food distribution. We had bags of rice, bags of beans, bags of sugar, pasta, some soap, and some toilet paper, I think. Um, Maybe, and a can of milk as well, that we were able to put into bags and began to distribute among the community. Um, we also were planning on doing a free market tonight in the hill community, not in the church community, but like in the hills where the poorer people were. Um, so I basically went out in the morning and and began to distribute it. We began to go around to houses and really, ask around like who needs a lot of help, who needs this food and also prayer and also this ticket to go to the free market. Um, so that was really, it was really amazing just to see how God was providing for our group, at least. Again, it was Rob the translator, it was me, Ross, and Nathan. We were all in a group, and we basically went around the community and began to distribute the food. So it was really amazing just to see that God led us to the people that really needed it most, but also God provided for us in the fact that we didn't really have to go around knocking, from door to door, asking for people to, whether or not they were there, because there's a lot of families that, there's a lot of kids at school, there's a lot of adults that are gone because they're at work. And so it was really neat that we were paired up with a lady from the church, and she had someone in mind, or at least like she knew kind of an area where she could find someone. And so we met this woman named Soledad, which means lonely. And we were able to kind of approach her and ask her, like, are there any families in this area that may need our help, or at least may need some food and some prayer? And so we were led to that, and then we were led back, and we got to pray for Soledad, and then she actually led us to another family um, that like they had two girls with epilepsy, and one of the girls actually greeted us at the door, greet as an open, and then her mom was the one that greeted us. um, and we got to really hear her story, hear this family story, and about how one of the daughters is actually able to go to school, but she's afraid of continuing school just because of her epilepsy. She doesn't know when seizures are going to come, so she actually has been holding back from continuing school. I think she like is still going to school, but I think she might be afraid of like moving forward in school. Um, the second daughter, which we were able to see and we were able to pray for, um, was actually under. She had even worse epilepsy. It was more severe, and she had to stay at home. Um, and what was really sad to hear was apparently that the doctors in Peru are on strike. The ones that are from the government, and so these girls aren't able to actually get the medicine that they need. Like they're able to, but it's really expensive. And this community, like they are recognized by the government. They're not like illegal immigrants or anything like that, but that because these doctors are on strike, they can't use the insurance that they have to get the medicine that they need at the price that is best, because this is a really poor community. They really can't afford to pay really expensive amounts of money to get the medicine that they need. So and that really broke my heart, and um, I think it really touched all of us in the group to know like there's this woman in this community that is fighting for her kids. And I think we really got to. I really hope that we were able to kind of make that clear to her too, when we shared the gospel. I think we were able to kind of share, just how much God loves us. Just like a mother loves her kids, wants them to be well, wants the best for them. So that was really encouraging. I think just to see that families, to see them really pushing and not giving up, um, especially with these kids that are struggling, and they're physically struggling. Um, so that was I think good, and God continued to place people in our path that day. They continue to lead us to different homes that really needed our prayer, and people in the community that they knew really need our I think it was also interesting that we we got to meet this family later in the day. That was kind of sitting out on the porch when we approached them. I think the school was already over, so like the kids were already outside playing and stuff like that. And we got to approach the grandmother and like a mom in the family. They weren't living all in the same house, but they live in like the same section. But they were just all like hanging out in the same house. And it was first of all really neat to talk with the women about their kids, about just how beautiful they were, and just how blessed they were to have such amazing children. The grandmother was actually at least an older woman, already had three older kids, and she told us about how she prayed to God to grant her a couple more kids when she was of pretty old age already, and God actually granted her with two more. One of them was actually born 3 months early. Actually, the same as I was. I was also born 3 months early, so both of us were preemies, and I really got to kind of connect with her in that way and share just how much of a miracle that is, and really attributing that to God and attributing that to His grace and His providence. And then she also shared that the second child that she is caring for is actually not her own, but is actually adopted. That the mother, the birth mother, just kind of handed her over at day one, and this older woman waited for the mom to come back, but she never did. She never did come back for her daughter. So this woman named Ellie, she cared for this girl as her own, and that really spoke very deeply to me too, just because my family has also adopted, and we were also provided with a girl that looked very similar to us, to the point where it's very difficult for people to tell that she is adopted, other than the crazy age gap between me and her. And it was so neat just to be able to share in that way and connect in that way, and even connect it back to just how God has adopted us into His family, and how He cares for us as His own. So that was really special. We also tried to share the gospel with this family as well, with the older women, and um, yeah, also with her family and stuff like that. And they seemed receptive. They prayed the prayer with us. However, it seemed like as if they weren't quite ready to like commit to a life with Christ, with that joy and with that excitement that I kind of expected in a sense. But I really hope that we were able to speak to them nonetheless, and I definitely will be keeping them in my prayers, just because it's such a beautiful family, and God has worked so powerfully through that family. And I really hope that those kids and the whole family will come to really know Him, and know just how powerful God is. Um, so there was that. We also did the free market that day, and it was amazing that we got to, we just got to meet more and more people. Um, you know, as we continue to pass out food, continue to pass out tickets for the free market, I was able to meet one woman from the community who basically is like a social worker for the community. And it was really neat just to connect with her on like that public health like connection, like wanting to really support communities and really wanting to see that people are doing well. And and what was amazing was like her brother, I think, led us through the community for the rest of the day, really led us to different people that really needed that help. And that was really a blessing, just because I don't think our group would have been able just to go on our own and like knock on doors and stuff like that. So that was really neat. We got to speak with another woman who also had a child with like a sore throat, so we were able to pray over that, and she also received salvation as well, which was amazing, and she seemed so excited. And it was even more amazing to know that God was working in her, because after we shared the salvation story, we asked her, so do you have any questions? And she was like, so what is life like with Christ? What does it mean? Like, what do I do? And it was really a special moment for me to be able to share just who God is, like that parently loving care that God has for us, and also to really encourage her to continually seek after God, to continually look into His Word, to kind of guide her onto where she should look in the Word, like read through the Gospels, read through the epistles, and just learn about who God is, because she is just so new to the faith. So I think this element of discipleship was also something else that God placed very deeply into my heart, to really, give these new believers the opportunity to grow, to show them what it means to grow, to show just how exciting life can be with God, and to really just kind of send them off into this new chapter of their life. So yeah, we were able to pray for many other families actually, and then we were able to meet a lot of them again at Free Market that night, and Free Market was just crazy. Free Market was just because of the lack of path and the lack of really organization without the community. It was kind of weird to figure out how to do a free market in that community. Like the church was given a space in that community to do work, to do a Sunday school for kids, and so we used that. But there's like this really steep staircase that like runs right beside it. So we did our best to like line people up, to like send people up through these sections of stairs and try to like kind of organized way of getting people into the free market so people weren't like fighting over clothes and stuff like that. And it was also a really good way just to be able to sit down as these families were moving through sections of stairs, to really pray over them, to ask them how they were doing, to continually follow up with them. And so that was really neat, to hear the stories, to be encouraged by these men and women who, and even these kids who are just struggling so hard, but yet are so grateful for what we are trying to do there, and also able just to encourage us and to really see how we impact their lives, I guess. So yeah, I think it was really, really amazing to see God at work that day in that community. One other thing to note, I think, was we were very aware of spiritual warfare that day, especially my group. We would try to pray, like after, whether or not they accept salvation or whether or not we share the tract, we always try to pray with whoever we meet. That is, one way of just showing how much God loves them, despite where they are. Like anyone can receive prayer at any time. And what was crazy was that there was very obvious distractions. There was very obviously like dogs would be barking. There's so many stray dogs in Peru, like to the point where it's crazy. Like so many stray dogs, and as soon as we would approach someone, they would be barking. Or like when we start praying, they would start barking. It was just like, what is going on? It was very clear that Satan was aware of our presence there and that he was trying to distract us. Another time, one of the babies of the moms that we were talking to, she just immediately started crying as soon as we like laid hands on the mother. Like maybe they're scared, but they just wouldn't stop crying. Other times we were actually followed by a huge group of kids in the afternoon, and so it was a little bit harder to pray over some families just because it wasn't as intimate, and we weren't able to go as deep and as close as we wanted to with our questions and with their answers as well. So while it was amazing to see like all these kids following us around, and like having this little girl named Nova follow me around and always ask me like, are you gonna dance? Are you gonna dance? She was so cute. And I really got to see just how I could really like encourage the kids too. It was really neat. But it was really interesting to see that the enemy is hard at work still. With all these distractions, whether or not they look like distractions. There was the last prayer that I prayed for that night over a woman in that community. She had to start breastfeeding her baby. I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna start praying. Let's go. And it was just it was really an opportunity for our whole team just to continue to press in, to continue just to ask God to work despite any distractions, despite where we were at, despite this environment around us, even despite like where the person was, how much faith they had or whatever, but really just asking God to work in their lives and to just be a hope and a joy for them. So that was day 4. That was our last day with the church there in this is the Conquistador Church in that area, and we got to eat dinner with them and really just continue to encourage them in what they were doing, because as we were working with them, PR was continually discussing things with the pastor, and it became very clear that both Stepping Stone, Grace Life, and this church in Peru has very, very similar visions in terms of discipleship, in terms of really preparing people to go out and be ministers of Christ. So that was really neat to see, and that was I will continually keep them in my prayers, just because God is doing a lot of work through that church, and God has given each member a huge heart for the community, and I'm just really excited to hear about what God will be doing through that church as we continue to partner with them. So hopefully God will bless this partnership, and we'll keep it going strong. All right, so let's move into day 5.